that test.
Oh,
Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to MetalCon Live. I'm Kaylin, the trade show and events specialist for MetalCon, and I'll be your host for today. Today's session is To Code and Beyond, which is being presented by Amanda Karns, the Facade Program Manager at Kingspan. Project Manager, Kingspan, sorry. This presentation is brought to us by the MCA. And to find out more about the MCA and its membership benefits, please reach out to Jeff Irwin, whose information is featured on this slide seen here. This session is also going to be presented at MetalCon in person on Wednesday, October 6th. So if you enjoy the content of today's program, please be sure to check it out in person there. MetalCon is just a few short weeks away. We're cutting it close, guys. If you haven't registered yet, now is the time. With all new experiences, plus over 40 hours of education, it's the can't miss event of 2021. We hope to see you all there. We're also introducing a brand new program designed exclusively for architects, the Architect's Experience, which features exclusive PSMJ education and a private tour of the Salvador Dali Museum in St. Petersburg, Florida. That tour will also feature a keynote by the architect of the Dali Museum himself, Jan Weymouth. Be sure to tune in next week for our MBA program, which is being presented by Danny Kerr of Breakthrough Academy. It's the fourth in our series and is sure to be a great time. I'm also going to remind you, don't forget to fill out your survey at the end of this presentation to get your AIA credit and your certificates for other accrediting entities. And now I will hand it over to Amanda. Amanda, take it away.
thanks, Kaylin. Hello, everyone, and welcome to today's presentation, To Code and Beyond, Using Insulated Metal Panels to Future-Proof Buildings. Today's topics we will be covering are specifically what is an insulated metal panel. The product in itself has been around for decades, so it's still surprising that there are people in the industry that might not be as familiar with this building product. We'll talk about the differences in attributes and characteristics, how the product in itself meets aesthetic, performance, and code demands. Also focusing in on the code requirements for air, water, thermal performance, and taking a deeper dive into fire codes and testing. We'll do a high-level comparison and contrast of insulated metal panels compared to other building products. So just to recap, the IMP Alliance is part of the MCA. The IMP Alliance is comprised of various manufacturers within the industry that not only manufacture the product in itself, but also some of the key components, such as you can see here, Huntsman and BASF, and Sherwin-Williams from a coatings perspective. Our focus is really twofold. We have a technical division as well as a marketing committee. The technical committee is focusing in on performance testing, making sure that through initiating research and focusing in on just increasing the use of insulated metal panels in the building envelope. Our marketing group make sure to reach out and gather that information, get it into individuals' hands to help educate how IMPs could be beneficial in the marketplace. So we'll get right into it. What is an IMP? We'll watch a quick video here in regards to what really is an IMP from an application and performance standpoint.
A building enclosure plays a crucial role in dividing the interior and exterior environments to keep what's inside in and what's outside out. These elemental forces, known as hygrothermal loads, include water, air, vapor, and heat. Insulated metal panels, or IMPs, create a single barrier against these forces across the entire building envelope, replacing complicated multi-component assemblies with a simpler solution for architects and contractors alike.
So as you can see, from an application standpoint, it really is a single building component that can be applied in various ways, orientations, to really change up the design of your product. Let's take a deeper dive into how an IMP is actually manufactured.
Composed of 2 sheets of cold-rolled galvanized steel and an advanced polyurethane foam core, IMPs provide a pre-manufactured perfect wall. This metal and foam composite construction creates a rigid panel far stronger than the individual parts. The perfect wall can be used in all climates, including cold, mixed, hot, humid, dry, and marine environments. The exterior water, air, and vapor control layers, as well as the outboard thermal control layer, are optimally configured to provide superior resistance to air and moisture intrusion, including rain and groundwater, and highly efficient thermal insulation via superior R values.
So just a quick recap, an insulated metal panel is a lightweight system that can be applied either to your exterior wall or roof application. It is a insulating foam core sandwiched by 2 metal skins. They do come in a wide variety of colors, widths, profiles, finishes, and even can be formed and curved into various different shapes and sizes. Walls can be ribbed, fluted, or planked, as you will see here in a few minutes. Flat walls can be textured or striated. IMPs bring a level of performance to the overall building envelope that is efficient, sustainable, easy to install. They are thoroughly tested and certified for performance standards, giving you the confidence you need for your building envelope. Now, one of the great videos within this entire program is how is this insulated metal panel actually manufactured? So I'd like to take a moment just to show you a brief video in regards to how an insulated metal panel is produced. You can see here on the left side of your screen, the coil in itself comes uncoiled on an uncoiler, goes directly into the production line where there are various dies and roll formers that fold the profile of the panel from the middle outward. You can see here in this video that they are separated by a little bit of a space. Here you can see where an oscillating head will apply a liquid. It's actually the polyurethane or polyiso core. It has a rise to side as it's going through the line, and the liner side or the face element is sandwiched into the actual production. The product in itself is cut to suit to meet your various project requirements, continuing down the line off to make sure it's gone through various quality checks and offloaded to be bundled per your project requirements. Now, as I've mentioned, there are various different profile walls that are available. There are profiles such as ribbed, fluted, planked, as you see here in this picture. There are standard widths available in these applications. So typically you're going to see an industry standard of anywhere from 24, 36 to 42-inch widths. These products, because of the profile of the face element, do come in longer lengths, somewhere ranging from 40 feet to 53 feet. The only thing that I would recommend if you are looking at longer panel lengths, make sure that your job site requirements allow for easy installation in those. Longer lengths require additional manpower to go ahead and install. So, and of course are a little bit heavier. So make sure that based upon your design intent, that the longer lengths are keeping within installation process. Most of these products are vertically oriented, so you're typically going over some sort of girt or pre-engineered metal building. They do come in a longer, wider, and more cost-effective for ease of installation. What I would recommend if you are looking at a wider product, such as a 42-inch, just make sure that your structural engineer of record verifies that the product span table can be maintained. These products do come in a smooth or embossed texture. Now, from a horizontal application, we typically see flat as the preferred method when horizontal panels are installed. The flat texture is also available in textured, where it's going to be like an embossed or stucco, and the striated is also available, as you can see there on the top left. These do also come in variable widths, a little bit more customized. So, you know, the ranges can go ahead and vary as far as what the availability on widths is. Again, horizontally is typical, but it can be vertically installed. And these products typically are shorter, narrower, and can be more expensive depending on production capabilities and requirements. Now, from a type of building standpoint, insulated metal panels can really be installed in any application. We have architectural, which is going to be your high-end building product, your more unique designs, you know, the more customization. We've got commercial and industrial, where we're looking at more of those vertical panels and working towards that. We've got cold storage, and the product being installed in a cold storage environment. Because of the thermal capabilities of an insulated metal panels, that's really what drives the product to be good for cold storage application. And one item that we won't really cover today, but is still available, is insulated roofs. Insulated metal panels can be placed in a roof application for thermal performance and structural integrity as well. So why IMPs? Well, first off, it is the singular building product that provides 4 control layers. I'd like to take a moment just to show you another video in which we are showing how the product is actually installed. So you can see here, we have interior gypsum being installed on the inside of a stud frame, and then the panel in itself is being installed horizontally over the stud framing, directly to the stud framing. There is no additional weather-resistant barrier or exterior gypsum required for the actual product. As you can see here, we have 4 control layers. The product in itself is going to provide air, vapor, water, and thermal performance control. On the liner side is a pocket in which has non-curing butyl, and that non-curing butyl is continuous within that liner side joint, and that really provides the air, vapor, and water performance. The thermal control is provided by the polyiso or polyurethane core that we've mentioned earlier. And the exterior metal skin is really your first layer of defense. That's going to allow for any wind-driven rain that might be hitting the product not to go ahead and be absorbed within the foam. The foam in itself is usually about a 90% or above closed cell foam, so it's not going to be absorbed. You don't have to worry about any mold or any type of water infiltration. Each individual manufacturer has a unique design within the product in itself and how everything comes together. The clip system you can see is proprietary to individual manufacturers, but for most product, it is concealed, where the secondary panel comes down over and hides that fastener. Because of the way the joint is designed, it does not allow for any water to be pulled through into the interior of the building in itself. One of the key components to insulated metal panels is the installment. Whenever we're looking at insulated metal panels on the exterior side of a building, we've got one component. We're putting together the insulated metal panels and the accessories associated with that product. There's one installer. With a traditional wall system, we have 7 different components. There's coordination required. There's 3 different installers. So really a lot of time needs to be taken into account with a traditional wall system as far as coordination and timeline. With insulated metal panels, it's quick, easy, and efficient. You install the insulated metal panel and move on to the interior from there. Insulated metal panels go through extensive testing. Whenever we're looking at water and air performance, which always is a very hot topic, we'll say, with wall consultants. You know, we want to make sure that we're providing every testing necessary to ensure that the building product is doing its required performance testing. So we have ASTM E283 and ASTM E331. Those are the 2 standards for air leakage and water penetration for not only insulated metal panels, but any curtain wall application as well. If you do have a question or concern in regards to the performance, always ask the manufacturer to provide that level of test reports if required. From a thermal performance standpoint, we have ASTM C518 and ASTM 1363. 518 is going to be testing, the product in itself for an R value. 1363 is more of an assembly test in which we're testing the joints associated with the product. No matter what testing is conducted, we're always following ASHRAE standard of 90.1. Now, from 90.1's perspective, we have different zone requirements which require or drive the different R values required within the product. Insulated metal panels can be installed in any application. They come in various depths so that we can accommodate the different requirements in R value. For example, down in Florida, you might only need a 2-inch panel to meet code, where up north, you might need something a little bit more thicker, like a 3 or 4-inch. Whenever it comes to an ASHRAE 90.1, I always make the recommendation, the frequently asked question that comes up is, as far as meeting the code requirements. We're looking at this from a prescriptive method, meaning that we're not looking at the actual metal frame wall construction, 16 inches on center, and looking at the R per inch plus a CI, 7.5 in some areas. What we're actually doing is turning the page. I always recommend turning the page within ASHRAE 90.1 to the prescriptive method. We're looking at the U factor. The product in itself will be applied as an assembly that therefore should go ahead and be used as an assembly, looked at from an assembly standpoint as well from a thermal performance standpoint. Structurally, we are always focused in on ASTM E72, which really tests the capabilities of the product in itself. E72 tests the product to failure in different conditions, different methods, and really will focus in on the product itself. ASTM E330 is typically partnered with ASTM E283 and 331 for testing. Whenever we're testing to an ASTM E330 standard, we're picking a wind load requirement and testing to that wind load. Now, one of the items in which has become a more frequently asked question with insulated metal panels is the fire code. First thing to go ahead and mention is that IMPs fall under Chapter 26 of the IBC. This is the foam plastics portion. A lot of people think that it might fall in Chapter 14 with the MCMs. Although we start in that chapter, we tend to go ahead and float over into chapter 26 fairly quickly whenever we get into the exception criteria of requiring a foam plastic. So insulated metal panels go through the stringent testing of chapter 26. Every test that is listed within that chapter will go through here today. ASTM E84 is going to be your standard test method for surface burning characteristics. Usually this is based upon a flame spread and smoke development number. The flame spread cannot exceed 25. The smoke development can exceed 400. Those tests are conducted on the product in itself. NFPA 259 is a potential heat of building products. This is also a key component to a portion of NFPA 285 that we'll talk about here in the next slide. NFPA 268 is the standard test method for determining ignitability of exterior walls, commonly referred to as ignition. So from a fire code perspective, we have NFPA 286. This is going to be your room corner test, where our crib you can see on that left picture is installed on the interior side of a room, and it's set on fire to determine how the flame would propagate either up the wall or along any of the intersections. So the corner condition as well as the roof to wall condition where the two meet. NFPA 285 is probably the most talked about test required in the industry so far. 285 is a multi-component wall assembly for the evaluation of flame propagation. What the product is installed, we not only test the fire from interior of the two-story building, but also on the exterior. So there's an interior and external burner that is sandwiched on either side of the product. The way in which the product is tested is how it's installed. There's a window opening within the test, and every component really is a focal point. Based upon the standard, there needs to be certain criteria that is maintained within the test to go ahead and pass. This is a pass-fail test. And that's going to be, if the flame in itself hits 10 feet above the window head, if the temperature at that 10-foot marker exceeds a specific number, if there's thermocouples located throughout the wall assembly to where they have certain criteria that needs to be maintained. If the product in itself is tested and passes the 30-minute test, then you get the pass of the NFPA 285. The key component with 285 is that the wall in itself must be constructed as you typically see. Now, insulated metal panel manufacturers can't test every condition and every application, so the use of engineering judgments does come into play. Usually there's an independent third party that will evaluate the product and either provide the engineering judgment associated to make sure that we're meeting code. In addition to the extensive testing that insulated metal panels go through, there is a special approvals portion of Chapter 26 where some of the special approvals mention factory mutual or underwriter's laboratory. There are independent third-party entities that will evaluate the product in itself, not only from a product specific perspective, as in the case of FM 4880 and explaining how the product handles under fire properties, but also from an application standpoint with FM 4881, which is a structural test. 4471, as listed here, is for roof application. Underwriters Laboratory have similar tests in regards to their requirements. And Factory Mutual and Underwriters Laboratory are not the only two entities that will allow for a certification, labeling, and listing program. There are other third-party certification bodies that will review the product in itself and provide certification to code compliance. So whenever we're comparing IMPs to other systems, we'll just take it from a high level. IMPs versus brick. From an aesthetic standpoint, IMPs are long lasting. We mentioned as far as the finishes, the maintenance on the product in itself is very minimal, and yet the product is still providing that design flexibility. From a brick perspective, we've got a large range of solid or variegated colors. Typically they're matte finish. They can be painted or stained after finish from an aesthetic standpoint. Envelope performance, we're looking at the IMPs as the main line of defense. It resists water infiltration through the way in which the product is designed and constructed and installed. Installation is critical. It's designed to prevent intrusion of water and protect against air, moisture, and vapor barriers. It can be installed in any cold climates as well. From a brick perspective, you're still looking at that brick. It can absorb water. It does go ahead and dry out through evaporation, but you still require an additional backup system to provide that insulating property for the wall application and the thermal performance. IMPs versus concrete tilt up and precast. Right now, might need to be a little bit updated in regards to the installation and cost comparison, but the aesthetics in itself, IMPs again are going to be long lasting, durable finishes with warranties up to 20, 30, 35 years on the finishes. Concrete tilt up and precast offer up solid color. The color in itself is field applied. The paint has low to medium durability, and oftentimes you don't get a long-term warranty with the product. From a performance standpoint, that IMP is still providing that air, water, thermal performance. There is no loss of performance due to sagging or any compression of the product in itself, or thermal bridging doesn't come into play because of the fact that the liner side and the face skin never come in contact with one another. From a fire performance standpoint, we just talked about the insulated metal panels suitable for all construction types. We have tested to make sure that the product in itself has been tested in accordance with IBC. It has superior reliability in disasters, whereas the concrete tilt up might not require additional fire resistance testing. And from an install and initial cost comparison aspect, right now insulated metal panels are subject to less weather delays than tilt ups. They are excellent for a retrofit option, and with the concrete tilt up and precast, the project completion is generally faster, but can go ahead and be more expensive. Whenever we're looking at insulated metal panels versus single skin, from an aesthetic standpoint, the single skin does go ahead and offer up a great diversity of different profile choices, different depths, different alternatives to different metals. It is typically easier and less expensive to curve. But with the insulated metal panels, we're not requiring any additional backup systems as in the single skin. That insulated metal panel does go ahead and provide different profile choices, but it's being installed in one single component. Less joints mean that there's less chance for leakage. There are steel facers that provide an ideal drainage plane, while the interior and exterior joints provide protection against water intrusion. From an installation and cost comparison, insulated metal panels are superior because they are a structural building product, meaning that they can span greater distances versus a similarly profiled single skin product. So just to recap from an IMP performance perspective, IMPs usually come in a wide variety of different widths, depths, lengths. We can go ahead and apply them in a lot of different applications, from an architectural, commercial, industrial, cold storage, and roofing application. It is a single component that provides 4 control layers: air, water, vapor, and thermal performance. The IMP in itself has been tested in accordance with various air and water testing requirements, as well as structural and fire, as well as thermal. IMPs, compared to other systems, require less maintenance. You don't have to worry about the product cracking or peeling over time. It has longevity, it has high performance and weather integrity, while providing an architectural flexibility to meet your project's design intent. So at this point in time, we'll open it up for any questions that might have come through.
Absolutely. So as we get started with the question and answer section, I'd love to invite all of our attendees, if you do have any questions, please feel free to submit those either in the chat box down below, or if you prefer, you can always put that in the Q&A. So feel free to come at me with any of those questions and we'll get those over to Amanda ASAP. I do have one question that came up pretty early on in your discussion, and that is, will you be able to share this presentation with the attendees?
I honestly, I don't know the answer to that one. I will definitely have to go ahead and get back to you. I know that because we're conducting the presentation in October as well, you know, it might come after October at that point in time, but it is, you know, something that I'll have to follow back up on.
Absolutely. And one thing I will say to all the attendees here is, while we might not be able to give you the actual presentation aspects of this, that PowerPoint, you will be able to view this at any point in time on YouTube starting tomorrow. So between 24 to 48 hours after this is live, you will be able to view this there. So hopefully that helps answer any of those questions. Do we have any other questions from the audience? Okay, so I'm not seeing any come through. So in that case, I will close it out for the day. I'll say thank you very much, Amanda, for joining us today. We so appreciate you being here. And to everyone who came to view this, we appreciate you watching. If you do have any further questions, please feel free to reach out to me and I will be happy to pass on any information to Amanda. You can reach me at kalyn@metalcon.com. And again, this presentation will be available within 24 to 48 hours after this. We look forward to seeing you at MetalCon in person coming up in just a few short weeks. Thank you, everyone, and have a great day. Bye.